What's up, everybody? Welcome to Reading the News. This is my second time doing it. My name is Devin, and I am going to read you the news for a half an hour to an hour. Yesterday, I did an hour, and we'll see. I just had to restart the stream because the computer froze up, but I got that all figured out. And one of the crappy parts about videos is you got to be good with computers. But we'll just get right to the news. Here we go. And one thing that is a little bit scary is that I just looked at the news like 10 minutes ago on Google News, and I was like, all ready to get started, and then I hit a wrong button and the computer froze up, and then now I go back to Google News and I got like a whole new set of articles. So the first four are different. So anyway, let's get started. Trump disavows nuclear deal but doesn't scrap it. We read about this yesterday. All right, if the internet doesn't work. Oh, here we go. Washington. President Trump announced on Friday his decision to disavow the Iran nuclear agreement, threatening to leave the deal altogether if it was not amended to permanently block Tehran from building nuclear weapons or intercontinental missiles. Oh man, these ads.
Give you information.
I mean, enough is enough. Does the New York Times not have enough money? You know what? Actually, I don't think they have tons of money. Here we go. So anyway, Trump wants to get us a better deal in the nuclear Iran deal that we did, that Obama did last year. But he's not totally pulling out. Anyway, we're missing this one. I'm just gonna keep reading. But even if he delivered a fire-breathing indictment of the Iranian government's activities around the Middle East, he stopped short of unraveling the agreement reached by President Obama 2 years ago. We will not continue down a path whose predictable conclusion is more violence, more chaos, the very, very real threat of a nuclear breakdown, Mr. Trump declared at the White House in a speech that was intended to define a broad strategy. Well, you're certainly not going to get a broad strategy from Trump. But anyway, him saying like, yeah, we're just going to make it a little bit better is I think how he's seeing it and saying it. Who knows? Trump's decision to not certify Iran complying with the terms of the agreement fears to break by the administration, according to senior officials. Anyway, Republicans kind of want him to stay in it. Some of the Republicans are talking smack about him saying that he's leaving it. I mean, and what's crazy is I know that the Congress can like overturn what he says here. We talked about it yesterday. I should probably try to remember what happened. I probably could have. Anyway, I'm not explaining this one well. We're moving on to the next article. Look at yesterday's video. In California, fires so fast, hesitation proved lethal. Man, that's just going to be a sad story. But long story short, if there's a fire around, leave and get to safety immediately. It seems like in these natural disasters, people like to stick around. Just leave, and especially if you have the resources to go to somebody's house. I think that the people that get screwed are like old people and kids. So yeah, get out. But that's gonna be sad. Black lawmakers pushing for aid attention to Virgin Islands. This probably has to do with tornadoes, or not tornadoes, but hurricanes. All right, here we go. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus are pushing for a trip to the Virgin Islands to assess the damage there and draw attention to the plight of residents still struggling in the wake of two major hurricanes. If we're not even helping out Puerto Rico, which is kind of a state.
TV has been rated
Oh, come on, USA
number
Today.
one in customer satisfaction over cable for 17 years running.
Oh, man, come on. That's so weak. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, so my guess is if we're not even helping out Puerto Rico, what are the chances we're going to help out the Virgin Islands? But I still think it's good for them to go down there and check it out and just do everything they can. But I think that we are doing everything we can, and Trump is just talks randomly. And I'm sure they're trying their best. The emergency services people, I mean, this is kind of what they do. It's not like they're going to get lazy because Trump doesn't seem into it. Anyway, quote, we think it's important for people not only who are on the ground to see the cavalry coming, but it's important for us to go down and independently assess the needs of the people, said Cedric Richmond of Louisiana. The House approved $3.6 billion disaster package that includes $18.7 billion for FEMA. The Senate is expected to vote on the bill next week when it's back in season. Caucus members supported the bill. So we are giving them $3.6 billion. And I mean, I don't know if that's a lot, but what's more important is how we use those resources. We gave a lot of money to Haiti, and there was a lot of money in Haiti. It was like so crazy how much money they were getting. And you know what? It wasn't used as well as it could have, and the resources weren't allocated well. So when we're taking a look at stuff like this, what's her name?
There's nothing more important than your health.
Oh, God. I'm just gonna turn down that volume. All right. So when it comes to Cedric Richmond, if you're gonna go out there and try to get money, you make sure it's spent well. And there's an awesome documentary on YouTube with a British guy that was in Haiti for 2 years. Go find it. It was awesome.
A vignette.
Is this another ad? Okay, here we go. You know, too many ads. Next article. Police in New York and London look into assault allegations about Weinstein. So now that all this information is out in the open and everyone's sharing information, it's going to be a lot easier to get him in trouble for something. So there's a lot, and now everyone's looking under the sheets. No need to go back into Harvey Weinstein. Nothing's new. Oh, here's one. Mueller's team interviewed Priebus on Friday from Politico. And this is something that I haven't read about yet. Oh, man, look at that guy's suit. That must be an expensive one. Mueller's team interviewed Priebus on Friday. He was happy to answer all questions, the former White House chief of staff said, or the lawyer said. And you know what? You can't believe those guys. Former White House chief of staff Reince Priebus was interviewed by special counsel Robert Mueller's team on Friday, according to his lawyer. Mr. Priebus was voluntarily interviewed by special counsel Mueller's team today. He was happy to answer all their questions. The interview, which took place at the special counsel's office, was expected as part of Mueller's sprawling Russia-related investigation. Priebus has been preparing for several weeks. Priebus didn't immediately respond for a request. Anyway, he didn't respond to comment. I don't know what to think about this. I'm glad that they're interviewing him, and they're just going to get more information, and they're going to keep on investigating, because if something did go wrong with Russia, well, we already know Russia did wrong. But if Trump's team was actually complicit or corroborated with it, or just about anything, we at least need to know. Something makes me think that it was exactly like the Sun's email, where they're like, yeah, you got information, and then we don't even know what happened at that meeting. So, I mean, if that doesn't get him in trouble, I can't imagine what will, which is kind of the sad part about this whole thing. But yeah, them interviewing people like Reince Priebus is a good idea, because he was a Trump supporter pretty early. All right, next article. Let's go. 9 hours ago, Las Vegas police again changed timeline of mass shooting. In the hour-long video I did, we got to one of these articles at the ending is the last one, and we were talking about timelines in that article too. So I guess there's a new one, and let's just hope there's no ads. And I'm just gonna.
In an emotional and at times combative news conference today, the Las Vegas sheriff once again revised his story on how the Las Vegas massacre went down, defending his previous timeline as the result of a complex investigation and not incompetence.
The word incompetence has been brought forward, and I am absolutely offended.
Okay, this guy is absolutely incompetent. Even if you have to say that you're not incompetent, you're probably incompetent. And that's just a rule. He doesn't have the timeline down. I think that the Las Vegas police, I just think that they're out of their element here. I think they're in the wrong lane. And there's so much shenanigans going down. You know, the FBI's, you know, they're spread thin. They're already doing the Russia thing. I think that the Vegas police, we should cut them some slack. But usually information comes out a little bit quicker. Let's quickly go over the article. I just don't want to speculate on stuff I don't know. But this whole Vegas thing, there's shenanigans going down with the authorities and information. Las Vegas authorities have revised the timeline of the mass shooting, saying Stephen Paddock shot the hotel security guard around the time he began firing on the crowd, not 6 minutes earlier. Well, that was the big article yesterday, that he shot the guard. I mean, that's why we were all confused. He shot the guard and then started firing afterwards. That was new. Speaking on Friday at a news conference, Sheriff Joe Lombardo didn't offer any new information about what motivated Paddock to open fire on the See, we still don't have a motivation. I'm not going to say anything until we get more information, but I don't believe any of this. This guy, a lot of damage to do for an old retiree. Why would he have so many guns in the... There's so many unanswered questions. So I'm just going to go to the next article. And let's see how... Let's see. The next article is... Katlyn Coleman and Joshua Boyle are free. Their mysterious story is now raising questions. And these guys are the people that got freed from Pakistan from the Haqqani network a couple days ago. Pakistani officials have described the mission to free American women, her Canadian husband, and their 3 children as a harrowing operation and a rare bit of positive news in the troubled relationship between their country and the United States. Things are never really going good with Pakistan. I talked about that yesterday. Pakistani soldiers acting on American intelligence appear to have opened fire Wednesday at the tires of a car carrying Katlyn Coleman, 31, and their 3 children not long after it crossed the border from Afghanistan into Pakistan's tribal areas. Maybe they didn't know what was going on. That seems like confusion to me. A senior Trump administration official shortly after the family's release compared their ordeal to living in a hole for 5 years. Well, you kind of were living in a hole for 5 years. But as with so many aspects of the murky and often confusing U.S.-Pakistan relationship, the family's dramatic rescue has raised many questions as it has answered. On Friday, Coleman, Boyle, and their children boarded a plane bound for Britain after the family, at the husband's insistence, had initially refused to get on a plane for the United States. Well, that's kind of funny. Boyle's father told the New York Times that his son did not want to stop at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, where Americans have been accused of abusing detainees. Well, that does sound like maybe the Taliban got to him a little bit. Josh indicated that they'd like to come back to Canada. The family's refusal to travel to the United States led some former U.S. officials to speculate about the couple's motives journeying to Afghanistan for 5 years earlier. And suggest they might be trying to avoid tough questions from U.S. intelligence officials. Yeah, who knows why these people were here? Wanted to go to Afghanistan. I think a lot of the times they're just crazy Christians. I've noticed, and they do it because they want to convert people. I don't know anything about these people. I don't know what they are, but for some reason they were in Afghanistan, and they're probably gonna have to answer that question at some point, or maybe not if they just go to another country. But all right, next, we're happy to have them home, though. So, next article. I didn't realize that there'd be so many, since I did this yesterday, we're just going over the exact same articles. Kim Jong-un builds his own Mar-a-Lago as North Korean people starve. That's from Fox News. I'm not interested in that at all. Trump's claim that U.S. interceptor can knock out ICBMs 97% of the time. I highly doubt that. To stop basically a rocket ship coming in from orbit and to knock it out of the sky, that's not easy. It's going really fast. We have missiles that can knock out a missile in the air 97% of the time, and if you send 2 of them, it's going to get knocked down. President Trump interviewed by Sean Hannity. Well, I think that might be optimistic, but I know that in Israel they have those interceptors, and those aren't even ICBMs. Those are like the Scud missile interceptors, and I don't think they're quite as good as even the Israelis say they are. But those aren't the ICBMs. Who knows? Is this anything close to reality? the facts. The White House did not respond to a request for comment, but the president appears to be referring to the Ground-Based Mid-Course Defense, GMD, in Alaska and California, which is administered by the Missile Defense Agency. Some $40 billion has been spent in developing the project, which is supposed to prevent ballistic missiles from attacking the homeland. MDA officials have been optimistic about the program's effectiveness, tossing around statistics that sound a bit like Trump's 97% figure. All right, well, this is what happened. So during the 60s, we had all the rocket scientists working on making big rockets, one that could take people to the moon. Humans have not built a bigger rocket since the one that took us to the moon, and that was 50 years ago. And the reason that was because it has to do with resources. And then after we got to the moon and we were still in the Cold War, we were like, oh man, let's just have all these rocket people making missiles that can knock down other missiles, and you can have missile defense because of the nuclear standoff. So then next thing you know, you got all these people working on making big rockets to get places are now working on rockets to knock down other rockets, and it was such a waste of resources. And just for humans in general, we should have had those rocket scientists making bigger rockets, but that's a different topic. The interceptor system has been tested 18 times since 1999 with a success rate of about 56%. The most recent test on May 30th was a success, and the three of four before that failed. It's worth noting that the tests are done under ideal conditions during the day. Yeah, these things, it is super hard to knock down a missile out of the air. I don't know where Trump gets this 97%, but I think you get 97% if if you shoot more than one missile. I don't know. I think if you shoot a ton of them, you're gonna get it. What I would do is I would make a missile that was it was a missile with loads of BBs in it. So then shoot it up, and then it's like a shotgun where you get a bigger spread. You know what? I don't know how I'd shoot down a missile. We're gonna go to the next article. Hold on a second. Let me just check YouTube. Hold on a second, please. All right, here we go. Philip Hammond says his remarks were poor choice of words. Who is this guy? A British dude. The Chancellor has labeled the European Union's Brexit negotiators as the enemy. A remark he subsequently described as a poor choice of words. Well, compared to Trump, that's a British faux pas. Anyway, during a television interview, Philip Hammond also called the negotiators the opponents and said that they should behave like grown-ups. But he tweeted later, "I was making a point that we are united at home. I regret I used a poor choice of words." Mr. Hammond is in Washington for International Monetary Fund meeting. He has been criticized for saying that Brexit process has created uncertainty, and this week a former chancellor claimed he was trying to sabotage the talks. During a series of media interviews in Washington, Mr. Hammond told Sky News that passions are high in the party, but we are all going to the same place. He added, "The enemy, the opponents, which are out there on the other side of the table, those are the people that we have to negotiate with and get the best deal for Britain." Well, this is a matzo ball that Britain put on their own table, because they're in so many trade deals that where they just can't get out immediately. And I think that they need to just slow down this process. And if these people are wasting their time, fine. The last thing they want to do is get like a super quick break and then just be on their own out of nowhere. That seems like that's bad for the stock market. It's bad for people. It's bad. It seems like that's a bad idea. So anytime they're negotiating, which is going to take, I guess, years, that's what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe these people should be not talking about the deals and just making the deals, and then you can tell everybody about it later. Next article. Amid Trump's ambiguity on North Korea, is the U.S. practicing for war? And, anytime you see North Korea in the news, you should not care. It's always been a distraction for my whole entire life. Every couple of years, there's always and it's usually when they're negotiating some kind of a deal. North Korea pops up left or right. We hear about how crazy they are. Oh, North Korea. And it's nothing, because the same dynamics that existed 10 years ago are the exact same ones now. he has no incentive to blow up anybody, even South Korea, which he has been able to do for numerous years. It's so funny. We say, oh, he's got a nuclear bomb. Well, having all those missiles pointed at South Korea is kind of the same as having a nuclear bomb. Oh, he can hit us. Well, if he wasn't hitting South Korea, he's not going to hit us. He has no incentive to do that. He has every incentive to bluff that he's doing it. And what's funny is now we have basically two Kim Jong-uns with President Trump, and then the actual Kim Jong-un. They act the same way. They use media to their advantage, and you're just seeing two media people. It's a joke. It's a joke. Next article. A man finds a $74 million lottery ticket in an old shirt just in the nick of time. Now that sounds amazing. Zeke pledges action on harassment inside Park Service. You know, we should be doing action and research and do anything you can to figure out. Let's nip this sexual harassment thing in the bud. It's obviously pervasive in our society when it comes to like what's in the news right now. So let's just see what we can. Let's do something about that. I mean, the Park Service, cops, Army, everybody has just got to look into it, and then maybe go to a couple meetings. We shouldn't just sweep it under the rug. Otherwise, it's gonna blow up in our faces more later. Exactly like the Kaepernick situation. He started kneeling. We didn't address the problem at all. 1 year later, it blows up in our face. And now we got Trump getting in on it, and it totally. We didn't even do what he wanted us to do in the first place. It was such a putting it under the rug, and the message was lost. So we got all this stuff in the news about Harvey Weinstein. We got all that. Let's just deal with it now. Anyway, that's moving on. Wells Fargo revises expense target, signaling profit difficulties ahead. Well, I can't imagine them making any money, considering they just ripped off millions of people making accounts for them. Like Wells Fargo. I mean, Bank of America was not looking good in the 2008 downturn, but Wells Fargo has really been not looking great in the last 5 years. There's so much shenanigans. And you know what? I'm Bank of America. I'm happy with them. All right. Now so many of these damn. All right, here we go. Wells Fargo Company management signaled on Friday that the bank may struggle to hit expense targets through the next year, raising questions about how much a sales scandal is weighing on the bottom line. Well, don't they have to? I'm sure a lot. The third largest U.S. bank by assets said its third quarter profit fell 19%, due mostly to a $1 billion mortgage litigation accrual. But management also revised its outlook on key expense-related metrics, saying the bank expects to spend 61 cents for every dollar of revenue it generates this year, up from 60 to 61 cents. When in this banking stuff, it gets difficult very, very quickly. Chief Financial Officer John Shrewsbury suggested Wells Fargo may also face issues hitting next year's cost efficiency target. Well, here's the thing about the banks, is they can get themselves out of all their problems, and they're always going to make their money. They own us. So let's just stop wasting our time trying to pretend they don't. They own us. They're going to make accounts for us, and they're going to get away with it. Let's see. 2% federal retirement COLA set for January. Bank of America's return to 1950s style banking pays off. You see, they know exactly what. I think they listen to us, and they know what article to pop up next. I just said Bank of America is looking pretty good these days. Let's see. No sooner had Brian Moynihan taken the helm at Bank of America. Here's a cell phone. Anyway, no sooner had Brian Moynihan. Oh God, I gotta stop with these ads. I certainly can't be clicking on the ads. Damn it! Now they just got a win out of me. Oh well, I gotta stop. See, but that's the thing is, if the click doesn't matter. It's whether or not they watch it. No sooner had Brian Moynihan taken the helm of Bank of America at the start of 2010 than the giant lender suffered a wave upon wave of giant, potentially fatal losses to its stricken mortgage portfolio. From the start, Moynihan championed a highly conservative strategy of growing with today's customers instead of courting risky new ones. The idea was to attract more business from folks who already banked mainly with Bank of America, and to let go of the customers who got their mortgage and deposited their paychecks at their crosstown competitor. If revenues, another ad. So it looks like what they did after after they lost tons of money in the mortgage business, and then they were levered up, and they needed a bailout, and then they had the Countrywide scandal, and they had to like buy Countrywide, which was ripping off people on mortgages. It says it looks like they're going more for their customers and less for the people trying to get rich. So that's good. If revenues grew with the overall economy, costs remained flat. Bank of America avoided a steep credit loss that plagued it in the past. Judging from the third quarter results that Moynihan announced on October 13th, what he calls responsible growth is finally succeeding and could be on the cusp of succeeding in a spectacular fashion. There are key takeaways from the financials and earning calls. You know what? It's good to see if somebody's doing a good job. We should pat him on the back. Moynihan is a demon on expenses. He shrunk the branch network, lowered headcount, and promoted digital banking that radically lowered the cost of everyday transactions. Total expense dropped by 2.3%. Their total expenses is $13 billion a year. I don't know. For some reason, you'd think it'd be more than that. Revenues rose just 1% because of the decline in trading, but because costs fell and expenses for bad loans improved, Bank of America's net income jumped 12%. That combination of moderate revenue growth, few bad loans, and falling costs provides what Moynihan most prizes, quote, operating leverage that propels earnings far faster than revenues. When they quote something that's a financial term, you can't Google that. You're not going to find anything worthwhile on that. That's kind of his own thing. Operating leverage. Anyway, the consumer bank points the way. Bank of America's biggest business is consumer banking, comprising its branch network and credit card franchise. Its principal strength is a gigantic, low-cost base of deposits, cash primarily sitting in checking accounts. That's like me. I got no money sitting in Bank of America, and they still treat me like $1 million when I go in. Raising interest rates are poised to swell consumers' bank profits. It still isn't first in class. For the first 3 quarters, Bank of America earned $15 billion on the basis. It's getting close to what Moynihan predicted, but the fact that he's even able to predict it, even kind of close, means that he must have kind of knew what he was doing, albeit many years late. Well, you know what? It sounded like a long-term strategy. I mean, not everybody's perfect. Bank of America is still trailing its 2 main rivals, Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan Chase, despite the downtick. Well, screw Wells Fargo. Anyway, how long have I been going here? I am going to stop doing this. It is Friday night, and I was just wanting to read the news real quick. Let's see. All right, so I've been doing it for 27 minutes. I'll do a couple more articles. I might as well get a half an hour. Let's see. Keep going down. Tesla fires hundreds from headquarters factory. Oh man, you don't hear about Tesla firing people too often. Tesla, this is from Palo Alto. Tesla fired hundreds of its workers this week, including engineers, managers, and factory workers, even as the company's... Oh God. We gotta stop with these ads. I should probably just talk about something other than the article while we click on it. Man, those cars are so sweet.
So your guys' offices are in New
Oh,
York.
God.
How
2
are
ads.
people being out here?
All right, here we go. The dismissals come at a crucial point for the company, which is pushing to increase vehicle production fivefold and reach a broader market with its new Model 3 sedan. The electric vehicle maker missed targets for producing the lower-cost sedan, manufacturing only 260 last quarter despite a wait list of more than 450,000 customers. Man, Elon Musk he's got 450,000 people to put down 1,000 deposit, and he's only made 260 of them. It must be nice to be Elon Musk. The company said this week's dismissals were the result of a company-wide annual... Let's just do the math on that. 450,000 times 1,000. You know what? This one's worth doing. For something that hasn't even come out yet. It's like that's like pre-sales on video games, but it's a $40,000 car. That is... Elon Musk knows what he's doing. All right, calculator. 450,000 times 1,000. equals. I don't know. Here we go. I gotta start over. All right, 450,000 times 1,000 equals. I'm getting an E and an 8. It's not even a real number. It's 4.5 E8. What the hell is... What is this? This calculator's no good. Hold on. 450,000 times 1,000. Oh my goodness. All right, so I don't know how to use a calculator. That is a lot of money. And even better, he's going to sell his cars, and then that 1,000 is going to be 450,000 times 40,000. Good for him. As with any company, especially one over 33,000 employees, performance reviews also occasionally result in employee departures. Tesla is continuing to grow and hire new employees around the world. In multiple, sometimes you got to weed out, you got to thin out the herd. And 33,000 employees is a lot, but he's got a lot of business. And then he's got the solar power thing, and he's got the rockets. Elon Musk, talk about, he's just going all in. Every time he has money, he goes all in with it. But you know what? He believes in his bets, and he knows what he's doing. So I guess if you know exactly what you're doing, you just go all in with all your money every time, and you can go from like $3 million for PayPal or however much he had to billions. You got to keep going all in. Lessons from Devin. I don't know. I don't think that's a financially responsible thing to do unless you are smart enough to do it. And so I can't imagine somebody doing that dumbly. He's kind of like Branson, where he just he picks the industry that nobody thinks you can make money in. But cars, you definitely can make money in cars. Google Home, and solar. You know what? Maybe not. Rockets was the only one that traditionally you can't really make money in. Google Home Mini review, taking aim at the Echo Dot. Yesterday we read that this thing was listening to you while you were in your home, and then Google said sorry, they admitted to it. But you know what? And I said yesterday, what better customer report could you get than people being recorded as they figure out how to use this new product that nobody's seen before? They're just going to listen and just make them way better. So probably a good idea to do that. It's too bad they got caught. Otherwise, the Home Mini would have been better way quicker. But anyway, I've been going half an hour. Thanks for listening. My name's Devin, and you know what? I'll just keep doing this for a little while. Okay, bye.